Hello, everyone. One more time. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm an executive coach for smart women who hate office politics. I help them get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. I combine the best of mutual benefit negotiation strategies, some of which you will be learning from me today, as well as practical neuroscience. I teach my clients how to have self-directed neuroplasticity because at the end of the day, the organ that you're going to use most when you negotiate and lead and advocate in your career is your brain. And you want to be able to cultivate, activate, encourage neuroplasticity so that you can cultivate, activate career growth and income growth as well. And I encourage everyone. I hope you can see this. And yes, the recording will be made available to everyone who registered, okay? So if you have to leave early to pick up your kid or you have to go to a meeting, do not worry. The recording will be sent to everyone. And don't worry about taking copious notes because you'll get the recording. You can also take screen snapshots of my slides. And if you get the recording, you could also read the transcript. Okay, so I'm in New York City. Hello. I wonder where you all are. If you want to pop in the Q&A box and let me know where you're joining from, that would be amazing. And before, yay, Evelyn's also in NYC, Austin, New York, Boston. Wow, quite a bit of Austin and Boston here. Pennsylvania, Cambridge, Philly, Chicago, New Jersey, Boston, Atlanta, Colorado, New Orleans, Montreal. Love it. I love Montreal. St. Marcos, so fun, so fun. And right before I hit the record button, I encouraged everyone to get up and literally dance. All right. And the reason why I'm encouraging you to get up and dance is because negotiation is a dance. Yeah. And like dance, you do better when you have skill, when you have practice, when you have a sense of rhythm, right? And when you have fun. What if negotiating your pay raise could be fun? Consider that. Awesome. And a little bit about me again. I'm in New York City. I've been teaching women professionals how to negotiate and advocate for themselves for 11 years. I know I don't look that old, but I've been doing it for 11 years. And I found out in my training that coaching really made the difference between, people who just sort of passively consume the information and people who like implemented the information and took action and generated results. And so I'm like, well, I gotta be a coach because I want to help women get bolder, braver, and better paid. So I've been doing that for 7 years. And as mentioned, I consider myself an executive coach, but really I got started doing negotiation training. And so when I do this training once a year, I kind of feel like I'm coming back home to what got me started in the first place. And I want to ask you, why do you think so many smart, competent women struggle with negotiating and advocating for their pay raise? What do you think is the reason? Here's something that I want to acknowledge before we move any further, which is that social injustice is real, right? I mean, people who have we have real wealth, privilege, and opportunity disparity in this world based on your gender, based on your race, based on your sexuality, based on whether you're cisgender or transgender or some other gender, based on whether you're able-bodied, based on the size of the body, based on where you live in the world. I mean, there's so many different intersections of identities and so many ways that those people of intersectional identities get impacted by the pay gap. And so I want to acknowledge that before we go any further, that like there is a bigger issue that, you know, impacts everyone around this world that does lead to the gender pay gap. And I want to come back to addressing that in a little bit. But for now, right, that was sort of the macro issue that I addressed. And for now, I want to think about the micro issue, because you're here because you want to, you know that the world is not perfect. You know that bias exists, unfairness exists, terrible things happen. But at the end of the day, you also know you have agency. You have agency in how you choose to show up, how you choose to communicate, how you choose to negotiate for your career growth. So we also have to acknowledge the micro element. So let's talk about why we struggle from an individual level while keeping an eye out, having acknowledged that there is a collective element as well. Okay. And okay, somebody says they can't read the sticky notes. All right. So the sticky note says, why do we struggle? Okay, Rebecca, I will read the sticky notes for you. And don't worry, again, I will send you these. So, socialization plus the human brain. We have been socialized to think that we're not supposed to stick our hands up, right? We've been so many of us have been socialized to think we're supposed to keep our heads down and do good work. And that's how you know that you're a good employee, a good person, a good woman, a good girl, right? And we have been socialized, especially so many of us women, we have been socialized to think that deprioritizing ourselves, prioritizing the well-being, the emotional well-being of other people is more important, is more valuable, more what's the word? Virtuous. Yeah. And we get exposed to this sort of socialization. Okay, one more thing. We also get socialized to think that it's not good. It's like taboo to talk about money, to ask for money, to discuss and to have money. Yeah. And so we get exposed to all of that socialization from our parents, from our community, from the mass media, from a very young age. And it all goes into like the primitive and the limbic parts of our brain. And so it sort of becomes like the default programming in our brain, although we didn't choose this. We didn't want this, but then it goes into our brain just because we exist in this world, and to exist in this world is to be exposed to socialization. And then what does this lead to? This leads to 3 common pitfalls that I see day in and day out every day in the smart, competent women that I coach and the smart, competent women that I talk to. And so tell me if this resonates with you. First of all is, now this sticky note reads comfort fallacy. And there's a little smiley face under which it reads avoid. We avoid the conversation. We avoid speaking up. We avoid advocating. We avoid negotiating for what we want when we're under the spell of comfort fallacy. Comfort fallacy means that unconsciously, and maybe consciously, you believe that everyone should feel comfortable, that confidence should feel like comfortable, and that no one should ever feel uncomfortable about what you say and what you do. And so, of course, that's impossible. We live in this world, like, all you have to do is be a person in the world and take a walk outside, and somebody might think that's offensive without you having done anything, right? Comfort fallacy is a myth. Comfort fallacy is a lie. But we are taught by socialization. And it's like this default programming in our brain that has us avoiding conversations because we associate conversations with confrontation. Oh my God, what if somebody thinks I'm being aggressive or a bitch? So then we avoid. And the result of being in comfort fallacy is that you feel damn miserable. You're so uncomfortable where you are because you're trying so hard to make everyone else feel comfortable and you are not. Right? Chasing comfort just results in more discomfort and maybe some resentment, maybe under earning, maybe just like feeling like, oh my God, it's impossible to make anyone happy. So, and here's the second pitfall that is super duper common. Here, what you see is my rendering of a crown under which it reads accommodate. And I just put the sticky note of tiara syndrome under it. Tiara syndrome means that because we've been taught that we're supposed to do good work and keep our head down, that if we keep our head down and do good work without ever mentioning what we're doing, without ever showcasing the wins we're producing, that somebody, some benign, all-knowing authority figure will place a tiara on our head, will reward us without us asking for it. This kind of feels like a 90s Disney fairy tale because it is. It doesn't exist. That's why I crossed out the tiara. The tiara simply never arrives. So many smart, competent women I have coached, people who are engineers, who have multiple degrees, have kept their head down because they've been taught by their parents, by society, you're supposed to keep your head down. That's how you stay good. But they don't feel good because the tiara they've been expecting has never arrived and they just feel kind of cheated. And it's like, what the F? When is this tiara coming? What's going on? The truth is, you just keep accommodating. Right? You keep accommodating what everyone else asks for because you think, well, that's how I keep my head down, do good work. But without you asking for it, the tiara simply never arrives. So again, tiara syndrome is also a myth, a lie that keeps us overworking, overcommitted, under-articulating our wants and wins, and feeling miserable. And here's another one. This is a very, very common one too. In this diagram, I just wrote A+ or F. This is like a grade. It's got to be either A+ or it's a failure, under which it reads attack. And the sticky note says perfectionist fantasy. Perfectionist fantasy means that you have to do it perfect. You think you have to do it perfect. You know, you think because you're a woman, because maybe you're a minority in the workplace, or because that's how you were taught to think, you think I have to do it just right. And if I don't do it just right, then I'm failing. I'm not good enough. Yeah. So you end up attacking yourself. And often when we attack ourselves, we become like so upset, so anxious and unhappy that sometimes this pain, this emotional pain gets chandeliered down. I think some people call it punching down. I also heard it described as chandeliering pain by Brene Brown, the TED speaker and shame researcher, and now very famous speaker and author. So perfectionist fantasy means that you think you got to do it just right, just perfect, even though in the working world, mostly no one knows exactly how it needs to get done. 99.9% of the time, people are just figuring it out as they go. Organizations set these huge lofty goals and they're like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We have some skills, we have some resources. We'll put it together and we'll figure it out one day at a time, one step at a time. But they never say that explicitly, right? We're supposed to look like we know it all. We're supposed to look like we have it all figured out. However, the reality of the truth is that reality and the truth is that, perfection doesn't arrive. There is no such thing. People figure it out. So I think F should be F for figuring it out. It'd be like, yes, you're doing great. There is no such thing as an A+. You just figure it out. So let's notice, though, that this becomes like a cycle. When you're in comfort fallacy, you avoid conversation to negotiate or advocate for yourself. When you're in tiara syndrome, you keep your head down, you accommodate, you say, yes, I'll do that. Okay, no problem. You don't set boundaries. And when you're in perfectionist fantasy, you think you beat yourself up, you attack yourself because you're thinking it has to be A+ or else or an F. And then this becomes like a vicious cycle. You avoid, you accommodate, you attack, you avoid, accommodate, attack. Often this cycle happens when we have been, again, socialized and had our brain programmed not by our choice, but by society to assume that negotiation is conflict, to assume that negotiation is aggression, to assume that negotiation means that something has gone wrong or people are going to get mad at you. I want to highlight all of these are myths, lies that keep us overworked and underpaid. I want to offer you the truth. You're here for the truth, right? So here's what I want to offer you. I want to offer you this reframe. Self-advocacy, advocating for your growth, advocating for your pay raise is not an act of aggression. It's not necessarily a confrontation. In fact, you don't want it to be a confrontation. It's just a conversation. But also, it is an act of reclaiming your self-sovereignty. Reclaiming self-sovereignty means that you own that you get to decide differently from socialization. You get to take yourself out of the avoid, accommodate, attack loop because you are sovereign. You get to decide for yourself. You have choice. You have agency in your career. You're taking responsibility in your career. Yeah. And when you do that, when you see self-advocacy as an act of reclaiming your self-sovereignty and say, hey, I'm the CEO of my career, right? Whatever your title is, whatever your position, whatever your pay is right now, everyone in this day and age, we all have to be the CEO, the chief executive officer, the queen, the king, the sovereign of your career. And when you advocate for yourself from this place of, hey, I'm just owning the value I'm bringing, I'm owning my power, I'm owning my agency, I'm owning my responsibility in my career. What that means is that when you advocate for you, it becomes an act of service. And I assure you, when you implement the 5 step-by-step process that I'm going to walk you through, your boss will thank you, your higher ups, your stakeholders, your decision makers. They'll be like, I really appreciate you presenting your case for your growth, your pay raise like this. Thank you, because you will have helped them do their jobs better. And it literally serves the organization. So this requires value focus. And on this slide, in the bottom of the slide, I drew a triangle with 3 P's on each side. And this triangle is like glowing. And then there's this eye. Here's what this means. When we bring value focus to our self-advocacy while claiming our self-sovereignty and letting it be an act of service, we come from this very firm, non-negotiable, sacrosanct base of personal value. The base of this triangle, this glowing triangle, is personal value. That's what the sticky note says. Personal value means that your value as a human being, as a person, is just absolute. And anyone who has ever held a newborn baby, anyone who has ever loved a person unconditionally, knows that each and every person has value, independent of what you do, independent of your negotiation outcomes, independent of your title, position, career, outlook, whatever. Right? Everyone is worthy. Everyone is born valuable. But it is easy to forget because our society, social socialization, gender socialization, capitalist ideals has often had us conflating our professional value with our personal value. But I made it a separate line in the triangle for a reason, because everything above this base is what you create. It is the product of your creativity, your efforts, your thinking, your innovation, your communication, right? And professional value is the prime example because it is the product of your skills and contributions. What is that professional skill that you create? And in a few slides, I want to help you. I want to walk you through an exercise so that you know how to phrase it in a dead simple, dead effective way. But let's not forget the third P. This is so important and so often overlooked. The third P is perceived value. There is personal value, non-negotiable. Professional value, you create that every single day. Every time you show up to work on time, you've created professional value, okay? But perceived value is the thing that they never taught us about in school, that women, especially people of color, minorities, we don't get to be taught how to shape and create perceived value. Notice it is a separate line in the triangle for a reason, because it is separate, but relevant, but attached to your professional value. When you create professional value, you also have to, or you also get to create your perceived value, or how your value is seen and understood by you and others. And I think the first and foremost thing that we want to do is help you see your value clearly. Because how can you help other people see something that you cannot see? Okay? All right, let's get moving. So then how do you do that? What are the key steps? I want to give you a quick overview. You want to take stock of your contributions. You want to make decisions. You want to have conversations. You want to tell them what you want. You want to get curious, not furious. So let's get started. And then I'm going to field questions at the end, and also give you an offer, give you an opportunity to take action on this much sooner rather than later. Okay, so I'm going to put the crown down for now. That was fun. My hair's a little bit of a mess. Number one, you're going to take stock of your professional value so you can shape your perceived value. And of course, you want to start by keeping a log. And then I want to walk you through the 3 steps that I have outlined here on the side. But let me walk you through this diagram. This is like a delicious roll cake. I did this presentation once for a company in Germany. And in Germany, they make this delicious, they call it like tree log cake. And it's just layers upon layers upon layers, right? There are 3 different layers to this delicious pastry. It's a log cake, okay? I'm just gonna take a quick sip. And the reason why this middle center of this delicious log cake is only half filled in is because I want to highlight how we often, as smart, competent women, we love to fixate on what just got done and then what still hasn't gotten done. And then we let this kind of, we let this keep us awake at night. We let this like haunt us day long, right? But we forget to zoom out and see that this is just a small portion of the entire professional value log cake. And here I wrote number 1 because of course we want to take note. We want to keep a log of what is getting done. We want to keep a log of our wins, our accomplishments, praise that we're receiving. This is everything that's getting done, right? Projects getting done, revenue being collected. This is what's getting done. Amazing. Keep a log. Keep a log so that you can use it as evidence the next time you go to have your professional development or performance evaluation. But don't stop there, because that's just a tiny portion of your value cake. You want to go a step out, zoom out, and ask yourself, what is the immediate benefit? What becomes possible now that this has gotten done? I just coached a client who works in construction, and she just secured this large deal with one of the major luxury hotels. And so that's what got done, but there's the benefit. This means that her company gets to work on, cutting edge products, and that it gets to be shown at this high-end luxury hotel. And then there's going to be more benefit. It's going to help increase the notoriety, the reputation, the credibility, and potential sales of her organization, right? So what got done is the deal itself, which is amazing, but there's beyond benefit, right? There's immediate benefit, but there's also beyond benefit. And beyond benefit is asking yourself one more time, let's zoom out one more time. How will this drive our company goals? What's going to become possible because the deal got closed and we grew our reputation? What is the beyond benefit? I mean, that was a very obvious one. So let me give you a slightly different one. I coached a client who is a mechanical engineer, and she had this sort of like MacGyver-like ability to come up with very cost-effective solutions on the spot. And for her, it was just like, whatever, it's just what I get done every day, not a big deal, right? But I'm like, okay, but what becomes possible because you came up with a solution? And she's like, oh, okay, well, I can think of one thing, which is that now we are able to go back to our investors and tell them that we met our project deadline. Immediate benefit, meeting project deadlines, so valuable to the organization, right? Even if it doesn't lead to more money or cost savings. But don't stop there. Ask yourself one more time, how will this drive company goals, right? What's really important to the organization or the decision maker? And how is that, how is what you're getting done aligning to what's most important to company decision makers? And so my client was like, well, actually, come to think of it, now that we've gotten this done, the CEO will be able to go back to our investors and raise more money. That's huge benefit, huge beyond benefit, right? But she really had to sit herself down, ask herself again and again, or have a coach ask her again and again, what becomes possible? How will that drive company goals? What's most important to them? And how is what you're getting done helping them get to what's most important to them? And for the most part, most organizations want to grow revenue or grow funding and cut costs or cut time spent on achieving that revenue or funding growth. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's practice. It's your turn, okay? I want to help you encapsulate, articulate this value in a dead simple and jargon-free sentence. And the structure is like this. Here's what I do. Here's the key component of how I add professional value. Here's what I do, or here's what I am. And here's what becomes possible for the organization. I am the blank so that blank can happen. And if you want to be really strategic, you want to think about who is my audience, what do they most care about, and make sure that whatever this second blank is something they would care about. Okay, so I have, yes. Okay, I have more sticky notes. I am or do key action so that blank, which is beyond or future benefit, right? It could be something that happens in the future can happen. Here are some examples. I bridge the gap between science and business needs so that we stay ahead of the competition. This is an example from one of my clients who works in data science. And here's another example from my client who is a software engineer. I write code that delights our best customers. And when we delight our best customers, we retain revenue, we retain higher profit margins. This is a win for our organization. So if you're following along, and if you would like some help crafting your own simple value sentence that you can use to help you generate courage, generate confidence when you negotiate, or to help you become somebody who stands out in networking, now's your chance. Here's what you can do. You can type in your draft sentences into the Q&A box. And if you would like my help with it, I will give you feedback right here, right now. And if you would like to make it even better, I'll give you some suggestions right now. Okay, so I'm going to ask people to type in the Q&A box, but Tara, if this is something that you want to discuss with me right now. Okay, somebody wants suggestions, someone in procurement. Yeah, if you're in procurement, I used to work in procurement. I used to work in supply chain. You can talk about, okay, here's an example I want to give you. When I worked in procurement, I came up with a plan to help reduce the overall cost by coming up with a simple project that would enable us to make use of cost of scale, economy. Okay, my brain is blanking. But anyways, I came up with a plan that would save the company $100,000, right? So you can say something like, you know, I help the company save money, and I'm the person who enables supply chain excellence so that our projects are completed on time and on budget. Thank you, Song. Economies of scale. I appreciate that. So my suggestion for you is for you to think about, why do I do the thing that I do? Why do I negotiate with vendors? Why do I manage purchase orders? Why do I follow up with vendors? Why do I do that? Yeah, why do I do that? Is it because we can ship our products on time to our best customers? Is it so that we can have, you know, smooth operations? Is it so that we can increase our efficiency and effectiveness? What is it that it enables what you do? Okay. All right. Emma says, I'm a data analyst so that aggregating technical results and communicating those results to our internal, external clients can happen. So good. This is a great start. Here's my suggestion. What you do is you aggregate technical results, right? You aggregate technical information, and then you communicate it to your clients. And then I want you to ask yourself, what else becomes possible then. When you communicate those results to your internal and external clients, what do they gain? Emma, do they gain a better understanding that helps them make better decisions? Does your company get to stay ahead of the competition? Does your company get to make decisions faster and make more money? So, Emma, great start. And when you think about what else becomes possible, right, that benefits the company or that drives the company goal. Lindsay says, I make data and research approachable so that tomorrow's teachers can better advocate for their students. So good. I make data and research approachable so that tomorrow's teachers can better advocate for their students. So good. Serena says, I'm a content strategist who helps brands shape their authentic voice and bring stories to life in an authentic way that connects with audiences. Yes, so good. You connected the action with the bigger why. At the end of the day, brands want to connect. Yes. Okay. Priya says, I am terrific at helping property managers with their building adaptations, retrofits, renovation projects in a way that is cost and energy effective and adapts for climate and age and supports local people and communities. Good, good. I'm a people-focused project manager who can design and execute solutions that improve the quality of instruction in schools, which motivates and influences the system to improve outcomes for students and teachers. So amazing. You should all be so proud of the value that you're creating in the world. You should all be so proud, yeah? This is amazing work that you're all doing. Excellent, excellent job. All right. Great work. Let's go to your future. The next step, now that you understand, you have a way to articulate that value and feel really good and own that value you're creating. You want to think about, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be in the future? Think about that, like 6 months or maybe next year. Who do you want to be? What do you want to have in your career that you don't yet have? And what specifically would signal growth for you? And for many of you, I'd imagine that is a promotion, that is a pay raise, which is good and great. And for some of you, like for you, personal growth is more important. For you, maybe it's about having a better life work balance. Maybe your growth is like just not like overthinking things at work or not staying up, worrying about, oh my gosh, why did I say that? Why did that guy say this to me? Like, oh, who do they think they are, right? Would that be growth for you? Because I know for me, speaking for me, yeah, that all of the above, right, was my growth and continues to be. And how do you want to be in this journey? How do you want to show up in this non-linear, right? It's non-linear for a reason. There are obstacles. We can anticipate them. We can plan ahead for some of them. And some of them, we will have no idea what those obstacles are, right? It's life. Your career is like life, yeah? But you get to decide, how do I want to be? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to feel in this journey, yeah? And again, because your self-advocacy is an act of service, I genuinely believe that every time a woman gets promoted, gets better paid, feels a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more authentic in her leadership, in her career, I think that creates a ripple effect of positive change for not just her, but all the people that she touches. And I know this firsthand, being a child of a single mom, an immigrant single mom who still speaks broken English. And even now she works as a nail technician, and she put all 3 of us girls. I'm one of 3 sisters. And because she continued to work hard, continue to create value in the world, like she made sure that me and my sisters had growth, that we grew in our education, and now we're able to grow in our careers, right? Your growth will also spur the growth of other people. Even if it is just somebody who knows you and looks up to you, yeah, I apologize for the extremely strong sun. I'm going to be right back so that you can read my slide. For now, I want you to resume the dance party. I will be right back in 30 seconds. Enjoy your dance break. I know I came back too fast. All right, so whatever you decide is up to you. Because again, you are in control. You are the sovereign. You are the ultimate CEO of your career, of your life. You get to make those decisions. Decide you're in control. Put on your crown. Put on your, whatever helps you feel in control. Maybe, for you, it's like Beyonce, or maybe it's Rihanna, or, whatever helps you feel like a queen or a king in your career, in your life. And remember to decide it's about progress. How do you move forward? How do you gain momentum, not perfection? Remember, the perfectionist fantasy, we want to drop that as soon as possible, right? Because that stuff will, it's just has you beating yourself up, and that's not productive at all. That doesn't help you create progress. And it's about whether you learn or you win. I want you to think about that. In your career negotiations, you either learn something, you either gain information that you can act on, or you win, or you get what you want. So you don't lose anything. And I wanted to add this in. This sticky note reads, awkward. If it feels awkward advocating for what you want, you're doing it right. Let's come back to this. All right. You're going to have several conversations in your career negotiation. You're going to have several conversations in your pay raise or in your promotion negotiation. Negotiation is not just a one-off and done. We love it to be like big bam and boom and done, right? But really, you want to be strategic. And when you are strategic, you engage in several conversations. You're going to have them with the decision makers or stakeholders. And here's why I differentiated decision makers and stakeholders. Sometimes your direct supervisor is a stakeholder, not the decision maker. I used to report to the CFO as operations director at tech startups, but really he was a stakeholder at the company. He didn't ultimately make the decision. The CEO did. And I having the conversation with my boss, the stakeholder, influence how he had conversation with the decision maker. And there were times when I had to directly sit down with the CEO of a company and ask for the promotion. And you also want to engage early and often. It's also never too late. It's never ever too late. And you also want to engage early and often. You want to think about how you can give yourself at least 3 to 6 months ahead of the formal evaluation or whatever formal structure is in place at your organization. Some companies have like the season, the time when people's promotions and raises and bonuses are announced, right? So you want to front run that, because if you sit down to that conversation at the formal conversation, the decision has already been made 3 to 6 months ago. You want to front run that, okay? And the key thing, the thing that most of us are anxious about when we think about having the negotiation is about anchoring. And anchoring is simply a fancy term for telling them what you want. But you can make it easier on yourself by dropping little anchors along the way before the big one. You tell them, hey, I'm looking to advance here. I like to be considered for a pay raise. I'm invested in growing with this organization. How can we make that happen? How do we work together to make that happen, right? So that's just some sample language that I want to give you to help you think about it's not dropping hints. It's like being really direct, right? You're telling them what you want while being open to exploration, while being open to collaboration, while being open to mentorship. Yeah. So I just coached a client who, this is very fresh in my mind because I just had this conversation with this client who had never advocated, never negotiated for herself. And this is very common. That's why I exist. I'm like, no, let's change this. Let's level the playing field, because the more we engage, the more we negotiate, the better we become, more practice, more skill, right? Just like a dance. And she dropped the anchor. She dropped the really big one. She's like, I like to be considered for a promotion, which comes with a raise, right? I want that. She told her supervisor, which turns out to be the stakeholder, not the key decision maker, but it was an important conversation because she needs to first win the stakeholder over before they have the conversation with the decision maker. And I told her, okay, the next step is, because your stakeholder told you, right? You know, usually these things, they're a go if you make a business case, if you tell them how it helps to drive the company goals. Remember this? Remember this? This is from the value page, right? When they say, can you make a business case for your ask? They want you to articulate that value, make it really explicit how what you're offering helps the organization achieve what it wants to achieve, right? And so I suggested that my client draft language. She decided to draft a slide. You don't have to do that. Some people do. And then she can enlist her supervisor as her mentor, as her ally, by asking them, hey, I would love your thoughts on whether this is compelling enough for the decision maker, for your boss. What are your advice? What are your thoughts, right? This way she enlists that person. And she could also ask other people in her network who have achieved that promotion to senior director or VP. Hey, what was that process like for you? Right? This way she engages the network. This is a diagram of a person who is interconnected with other people. And some of them have strong connections, strong ties, or weak ties. And the thing about our career growth is that sometimes the people with whom you have weak ties, they give you some great suggestions and tips that really make an impact. They don't necessarily have to be a strong tie. And so if you know people who have gotten promoted or who have secured a pay raise in your industry, in your field, at your company, ask them this question. What do you think will be a reasonable pay range? What do you think will be a reasonable pay bump? And I love this question because you don't have to ask anyone what they're making, right? You're just asking them for their thoughts. You don't have to break any rules about not discussing salary. You're not. You're just asking them, what do you think is reasonable? This way you gain real data from real people. And also you can enlist other people of all genders at your organization or in your field. Hey, would you speak up for me? Would you go to bat for me? I had a client who is a software engineer at a major tech company, and she was the only woman on that team for an extended period of time. And the thing that when she started building up her self-confidence, she started just asking her male teammates, hey, when you see me do something like technical, something that is technically competent, would you please just, give me a shout out on the public Slack channel? This way she was able to shape the perception of her value. She was able to leverage her network, right? The interdependence. She was able to leverage that to shape the perception of her value. You want to leverage also the 51% rule. What this means is that ideally, you want to have at least the minimum majority, 51%. And if your boss is the decision maker, then you want your boss to be already familiar and bought in on what you're anchoring, okay? And you do that through a series of conversations. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's get to the scripting part. I know you guys came for this. Now you want to make a compelling ask. And when you make your ask, your like the big anchor, right? Your big ask, you want to make this so compelling that they can't say no. And it's dead simple. You just want to make sure that you're addressing this sweet spot, the overlap of this Venn diagram. And Venn diagram meaning there are 3 overlapping circles. Number 1, what are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? Number 2, what is the professional value that you are bringing and offering? And number 3, what is the growth that you want? And your self-advocacy, your negotiation will be an act of service when you can address 1, their goals, 2, your value, 3, your growth. And there is a sweet spot where all of this overlaps. Here is the sample script. Because you have engaged in a series of conversations, because you have sat down and you've asked yourself, what else becomes possible? What is the most important thing here for them, for the employer? You will know, you will be clear, you will understand what the big picture goal is. And so you will tell them, I understand our goal is to raise money. Our goal is to drive the mission of our organization, to create revenue. And the skills, the contributions, the strengths that I offer will help us achieve it, right? This is just like another variation of that value articulation exercise we did earlier, right? What I'm doing, or what I offer helps us achieve our big goal. And then you ask them, would you agree that I'm adding value? If you've done this well, they'll absolutely say yes. Of course you're adding value. You're helping us achieve what we want. You're bringing us immediate and beyond benefit. Yes. And then you say, I'm glad you agree. That's why I like to ask for the pay raise. Because you could add, I like to be compensated according to the value I'm bringing, or I'd like to be considered for the promotion. And in the scope of work, that warrants a pay raise, right? That's how you substantiate what you're asking for. And then you ask, what are your thoughts about that? And then you shut up. It says pause. Okay, so I'm going to... Somebody asked, if our numbers are going to be given to us in 2 weeks, does that mean we missed the window to negotiate this time? I would think so, Anonymous. I would think so. But it doesn't mean that you can't start negotiating for the next window. And also, I don't know how big your organization is, Anonymous, because if it's a really small organization where there isn't a lot of this bureaucratic overhaul, you might have the opportunity to negotiate that. It all depends. There's so many different factors, but do not assume that it means that it's too late or that you shouldn't try. Okay, let's move forward. So, excuse me, a little bit of technical difficulty. All right. So, some of you are worried, what if they say no? But here's the thing that I know. Because so many of us have comfort fallacy, because so many of us have perfectionist fantasy, and also tiara syndrome, Like we think anything less than an enthusiastic and immediate yes is a no. I know this from my own experience, and I know this from the experience of my own clients. Okay. Okay. I'm going to get to the questions in a minute. I see people are asking questions. I will get to them in a minute. So if they say anything less than an enthusiastic and immediate yes, I want you to know that you can pat yourself on the back. And whatever they said that was not an immediate and enthusiastic yes, it is not about you. It says nothing about you personally. And it could just simply mean not now. It could mean I'm not the decision maker. It could mean I have to go talk to the decision maker. It could mean I'm not really clear on the value. It could mean a lot of different things. And therefore, this is an opportunity for you to get curious, not furious. Don't get mad, just get curious. Think about the quality of being curious. Like you're watching a documentary and they're telling you about the life of this like fascinating person. You're like, oh, I'm really curious. I want to hear more. Yeah, I want to ask questions, right? I want to look things up, right? And in that spirit, don't fold, don't concede, ask an open W question. Questions that start with, hey, help me understand. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by, this metric? Or, what would you need to see from me? Or, how can I help you? How can I help you make the case to the decision maker? Or, who should we include in this conversation so that we can get to a resolution? When would be a good time for me to follow up? Where are we not in agreement? Where are we in agreement and where are we not in agreement? And lastly, maybe you just want to get curious and ask a why question, but I think for the most part, you want to ask what, how, who, when, where. And everyone who signed up to this webinar also got my free ebook, How to Ask for a Big Pay Raise. And I give you concrete, real examples of some open W questions that you can ask in that ebook. Check your inbox. I sent you an email, okay? So somebody's asking questions about it, but hold on. 1 minute, okay. All right, so let me answer some of these questions. These 5 steps for the stakeholder or decision maker. Okay, anonymous, I would say both. It would be amazing if you can take these 5 steps with the decision maker. And often we think, oh, I can't talk to the decision maker if they're your skip level boss. But actually it turns out like skip level bosses, they want to talk to as many people as possible too. So don't just assume just because they're, if they're a skip level boss that you can't talk to them. So 5 steps are for both the stakeholder and the decision maker, depending on your situation, right? Your boss may be the CEO, in which case they are both the stakeholder or decision maker, or maybe you're a senior manager and you report to the director who is really a stakeholder, not the decision maker who is the SVP. Make sense? You want to like think about who are the people and who really makes the decision. What have I noticed? You can even like map it out ahead of the negotiation. Yes, I will be sharing this recording, Anonymous. Of course, you want to continue to work on this. And I also am offering some assistance if you want expert guidance so that you know that you do it well and you do it in the most effective and efficient way. If you want some guidance, I have an offer that I want to share with you. Ariel says, how can we structure this conversation if instead of a CEO discussion, we have a series of interviews with stakeholders from throughout the organization? So good. So I think rewatch the replay and all of the questions that, okay. All of the questions that I suggested you ask here are really great for the series of interviews with stakeholders throughout the organization, right? That's you're leveraging the interdependence. Okay. All right. So just to recap, and I will answer more questions at the end. Okay. You want to take stock of your contributions. And remember, it's like we're almost always focused on this tiny little bullseye of this delicious, I know it looks like a target practice thing, but it's actually a roll cake or a log cake. And you want to think about, how do I expand my perspective of the value? So I'm not just thinking about what I'm getting done, but how it impacts the organization, the future benefit, what becomes possible. And because when we are in comfort fallacy, perfectionist fantasy, and tiara syndrome, we are biased against ourselves. We've become like tunnel vision. We can't see the full scope of our value. So we want to unbias ourselves, make decisions for the growth and the future. How do you want to show up? Just imagine that you can see that version of you who has achieved the growth that you want. You can see the version of you in all your self-sovereignty glory, and let that activate your self-confidence. Have several conversations with stakeholders, with decision makers, with people in the organization, throughout the organization. You're going to build bridges. The more people know of you, the more people know about the value that you're offering, more people know about the growth that you want to achieve and how it helps to drive company goals. You're going to be able to leverage interdependence. More people will know about you and your value proposition when people go to make decisions behind closed doors. That's leverage. You also get to build bridges and strengthen them and make it compelling. And when you do this, when you use that simple script framework, you demonstrate your leadership. I had a client literally just yesterday tell me that she used that exact script to ask for a promotion. And the boss was like, yeah, I'm going to help you. Yes, I agree. You bring value to the organization, of course. And if they say anything less than an enthusiastic and immediate yes, it's not a sign that you did something wrong. It's not a sign that you can't get what you want. It may be a sign that you may need to go back to one of these steps and reconfigure. You might have to have more conversations, make it even more compelling, right? I mean, that could be the case, or you might want to make a different decision, but you just want to get curious with yourself. Do not get furious with yourself. Speaking for myself, when I get furious, I just get mad at me, but that's not really productive. It doesn't really help my confidence either. And you could also get past no. So that's the training. And I know some of you have to go, but I want to help you really put this into practice. And some of you are interested in gaining support. You want to know how you can implement these steps really seamlessly with least amount of friction, both internal and external. You want to achieve results. You want to get bolder, braver, and better paid. And you know that the more you wait, the less you have, right? The sooner you take action, the sooner you create results, the sooner you get to create that positive ripple effect of your self-advocacy. So for those of you who want assistance, so those of you who want expert support in your corner, I have a special offer that I have never, ever offered before. And the reason why I'm doing this is because in the past, I've made my coaching exclusive to people who were committed to a 6-month container, and I stand by it. The 6-month container is the best container for women who want to feel more confident consistently and lead with authentic confidence. However, some of you, you're just like, I want to be able to just ask for the raise, and like that's what all I want to do, right? That's why you came to this workshop. And for those of you who are interested in that, I'm offering you the workshop special. The workshop special is 3 sessions of precision coaching. I'm going to be in your corner. I'm going to teach you pattern interrupt tools so that you can get yourself out of the avoid, accommodate, attack cycle, so that you can mentally get yourself out of the perfectionist fantasy, the comfort fallacy, the tiara syndrome. And guess what? I'm going to teach it to you, but they're so simple and so effective. You're going to be able to practice them for life. I guarantee it. And you're going to have bespoke strategy that you can use to ask for your pay raise and get it. And the standard rate for 3 sessions, 3-hour-long sessions with me is $1,050. And I sent you this link, calendly.com, Jamie Lee, is it / or backlash? I always forget. I sent you the link. It should be in your inbox. If this is what you want, right? If you want to just be able to ask for that raise and get it, I invite you to book a completely free consultation with me by going to this link. I think it's Calendly / Jamie Lee / consult. And it's also in your inbox. And you select workshop special. I named it workshop special. There's a selection when you go to this link. There's a selection that you make at the application to confirm the booking on my calendar. What happens in this consultation is that you get 1 hour of my undivided attention, and I'm going to walk you through an intake, kind of like when you go to the doctor's office, so that should you decide to invest in coaching, we dive right ahead into tangible solutions from the first hour. And you walk away with tactical, something that you can take action on right away to help you ask for the pay raise and get it. Okay. So the hour is to ensure that you and I are a good fit, because if we aren't a good fit, the investment doesn't make sense, right? And I'm going to support you in making a decision that works for you. Having said that, there's more. I want to acknowledge at the very beginning of this webinar, I talked about social injustice. It's real, right? There's some people who, through no fault of their own, are born into countries where the US dollar is not their reserve currency. And I have a friend who's basically an economist, and he's telling me how the US monetary policy is impacting all these different nations and other people's livelihoods, through no fault of their own, because of what if your reserve currency is not US dollar, it's negatively impacting your ability to buy things in your country, in your currency. That's not your fault, right? But that's an example of social injustice, right? And if you are disabled, if you are a person of color, if you are, somebody who is like my mom, doesn't speak English as a first language, English is not your native language, you're an immigrant, right? And you have children to take care of, I'd imagine this might be a little difficult to pay. And for that reason, I am offering for the very, very first time a sliding scale pricing model. I work one-on-one. I do private coaching. I have 20 sessions that I can offer every week. And I'm going to make 6 of those 20 sessions available for the sliding scale, class equitable sliding scale pricing model. So 3 are available at $750. You get 3 sessions. You get that workshop special. You get everything in the workshop special for $750. And this would be for you if, if this paying for this meant you do, takeout or eating out a little bit less. It's going to be a little bit of a sacrifice, but it's not going to harm you. It's not going to hold you back from paying for housing, food, childcare. Okay. And I want to offer 3 at 500. This is less than 50% of my standard rate. And the preference will be going to people just like I described, BIPOC, Black, indigenous people of color, immigrant. Like I was thinking about literally my mom, right? No one gave her a break. She's worked really hard. She continues to, but because she did, I got a huge leg up. I'm basically a native English speaker, even though I wasn't born here. I was born in South Korea. I got a stellar education. I got a scholarship. Somebody gave me a sliding scale, right? Somebody gave me access to incredible privilege. Yeah. And so I want to give back. So if this is you, or maybe you're taking care of elderly, or maybe you're disabled, and again, maybe you're in a country where USD is not your reserve currency, so paying in USD is like a huge burden to you, I want to offer you the sliding scale model. And I want to remind you that for many of you, paying for basic needs, paying for vacations, it's not very difficult. Like, it might feel like a little bit of a stretch, but like, it's not a problem. And those of you who pay the standard rate, you're going to be paying it forward. You're going to be enabling, you're going to be contributing to the sliding scale model to make coaching class equitable, more accessible to more people like my mom, more people like people you know. So again, I offer you, all of you, wherever you are in this pricing model, in this pricing scale, all of you get to book a free 1 hour long consultation with me. And yes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I will help you. Exactly, so that you know what your custom blueprint will be. Okay. And I guarantee that if you don't feel it in your guts that this is the best decision, that you do not make that investment, right? You get to have a conversation with you, have a conversation with me, me having a conversation with you, right? To ensure it's a great fit before you invest a single cent. Because I want this to be something that feels good. It might feel like a bit of a stretch, but you know that it's going to help you, because when you invest in your negotiation brain, when you invest in your self-confidence, when you invest in your brain, you know that you can create big ripple of change, positive change for yourself, for the people that you love, right? For your future, where you want to be. Okay. All right. So many of you still hanging on. I love it. I love it. Okay. Anonymous asks, is it appropriate to have these conversations at the time of performance reviews? Yes, it is. I've had several conversations of being underpaid and what value I bring, just waiting to see how much I will be paid to counter. Of course, what is appropriate? What does it mean to be appropriate? Like, it's a very subjective thing. And I wanted to just think about how, like, the whole idea of something being appropriate is something, again, that's been socialized, programmed into our brains by default, by other people's opinions, by what we've been exposed to when we were young. So we just want to question, like, what does it mean to be appropriate? Why does it need to be appropriate? Like, what if you can be respectful and honest and transparent in your conversation? And what if that is the best way? What if you being authentic and clear and, again, respectful is something that you want to be, rather than worrying about something being appropriate? And the reason why I say that is because so often, especially for us women, we're like, oh, is it appropriate? When we're asking that question, our brain is offering, no, it's not appropriate. Don't do it. I don't know why I did that voice. Okay. So I want to offer, even though strategy-wise, I do suggest you start this whole process 3 to 6 months ahead of the performance review. If that's coming up, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you can have that conversation at the time of the performance review. In fact, the client that I just mentioned who used this script and the boss is like, yeah, you're valuable. I'm going to help you. She did do it at the time of the performance review. She had a great performance review. And at the end of it, she used that script. And I wish you all the best in the outcome of your conversations. And how do I follow up after the initial conversation? Xin, I would suggest you bring curiosity, right? Get curious. You know, ask them, hey, what would be the best way for me to follow up? Or you could also ask them, remember I taught you the script about enlisting people as your mentor? You could ask them like, hey, what suggestions do you have? You could ask them, if you're in my shoes, what would you do? Yeah. Okay. Somebody says, I'm an independent contractor and consultant, so I'm always negotiating my rates with new clients. What advice do you have to make sure I'm not undervaluing my worth? So excellent question, Anonymous. This is a great one. I like this one because I'm also an independent contractor. I work for myself. And remember the 3 Ps. I don't know if you saw the beginning of this workshop, but the 3 P was the ground level is personal value. The second is professional. And the third is perceived, right? And so when you are independent contractor, it is never about your worth. It is never about your worth. What you are charging is never about your worth. I have a podcast. If you come to my website, jamieleecoach.com, you can get all the transcripts, access to my completely free podcast. And this is something that I most often talk about, how we so often conflate our sense of self-worth with what we make or the dollar figure that we charge. But it isn't. Your worth is infinite. The value of your work is infinite. I don't know what you do as an independent contractor and consultant, but I'm sure you're really great at it. And when you're great at it, you help people in ways that you can't even fathom. There's so many different ripple effects that you create with your work. It's not about your worth. Yeah. You get to like, if you're just starting out, you get to decide like, okay, what's a rate that is sort of like comfortable, but slightly beyond my comforts. It's like almost like yoga stretch. I talk about this in the most recent podcast episode. Like how do you come up, or how do you decide on a rate that is like slightly beyond your comfort zone? Okay. And I would say start there. And if you know your desire is to sign as many clients as possible in the shortest amount of time, you might think about, okay, how do I make this price so compelling compared to the value that they're getting? It's a no-brainer. You know, when you use a version of my script, your client's going to be like, yeah, of course you bring value. Of course. Yeah. All right. I hope that helps, Anonymous. Okay, well, I appreciate all of you who are staying all the way to the end with me. I love it. So again, if any of you here or watching the replay want to get really like precision coaching, it's like you want just like coaching on how to initiate that conversation, right? Because maybe you've never done it, or, you know, it's something that just feels like so uncomfortable, and you know that with an expert in your corner, you can definitely like take action, and you want to take action. Maybe this is like a thing of timing for you, like something is coming up and you want to do your best in terms of how you negotiate for yourself. I'm going to offer you the workshop special. The workshop special is on the menu. 3 sessions, that's 3 total hours with me. Precision, targeted coaching. You're going to learn how to interrupt the pattern of feeling anxious or shutting down or freezing up. I'm very confident in these tools, and these tools, you're going to learn them once, you get to practice them for life. Okay. And you're going to have bespoke, custom-made strategy for you and your specific situation so that you ask for that raise. Imagine what would be the impact when you ask for that raise. If it's something that you haven't done before or something that you've never done confidently before, how's that going to feel when you realize I've become a person who knows how to negotiate for herself, and I can bring the skill, I can bring this confidence to anywhere else in my life. I can bring it to my relationships. I can bring it to my family relationships. I can bring it elsewhere into my hobbies. You know, I have a client who it was her first time negotiating. And what was so amazing was that we talked about, like, this is the example that she wants to set for her own daughter. She get to be it. She got to embody that example. Yeah. And the standard rate, right? This is what I typically charge. Well, this is a prorated version of what I typically charge. I typically charge $7,000 for 20 session packages. And so this is like the prorated version of just the 3-session workshop special. And come to calendly.com/JamieLee/consult, and you select the workshop special when you fill that application out. And if for whatever reason you don't see a time that works for you, email me. I sent you emails. If you haven't gotten any emails from me, you can email me directly at JamieEleeCoach.com. Okay. And recognizing that we all have a part in creating more social justice, in leveling the playing field, because not everyone has equal access to wealth, opportunities, to coaching. Yeah, that's why I am now making, for the first time, class equitable sliding scale pricing. I have 3 spots available at $750. I have 3 spots available at $500. Right? The sooner you take action, the sooner you can secure them, right? Because if I fill up, I won't be able to offer, I'll just have to create a wait list. And again, just a reminder, there are some of you, you can easily pay for this. And, you know, I know it's not, it is an investment either way, whether it is 1,000, whether it's 750, whether it's a 500, it's an investment, right? But it's not gonna disrupt your lifestyle. Maybe you have access to capital, maybe you have savings, maybe you have, you know, double income in your household, maybe you own property. And for those of you who pay the standard rate, you get to help make this possible, right? Because I'm a one-person operation, right? And as much as I believe in women making fair and equitable pay, I have to be able to pay myself and be taken care of to be able to offer something like this. And so when you pay that standard rate, you help make this possible as well. For everyone, anyone, anywhere at this range, you just book a consultation. It's absolutely free. Yeah. And I will support you. I will help you so that you know exactly what kind of help you're going to get. You know exactly what that experience is going to feel like for you. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Staying all the way to the end. I appreciate you. I will send the replay to everyone who attended, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. All right. You're so welcome, Serena. I appreciate you too. Bye.